Why hello there, and welcome to my channel. So he's a bad guy. Hello. We're going to be doing something quite exciting today. It's part of a new channel. If you're here, you already know it's called Can We VR It? This is where we take 2D games from the PC and see if we can play them in VR and have them just as enjoyable as the original, if not maybe even just a little bit more. Of course, we'll need to use a PC for this, but we're going to see what mods and what programs we can use to actually emulate this. We're not skipping any steps whenever we're trying to actually immerse ourselves in VR. So it's going to be standing only for most games, see if that is first of all possible, and then we'll go on and see if it's more palatable on a mouse and keyboard depending on just the mechanics of the game itself. Are you going to let me use the controller from here? Nope. So why am I doing this? Well, there are so many games that I love, so many things that I want to play and replay again, but with the amount of games in my game library, as well as having recently discovered VR, I found myself sort of not being as interested in a game unless I can play it on VR. Why would you not want to take your old games that you've played to death, or maybe a game that has a new VR port, and be able to do it either via a mod or a program that can automatically switch it into VR from the 2D plane to the 3D plane, or more specifically the 2D on PC screen to the 3D plane in VR. There are so many games that I love, but I've played them to death on the PC, I've played them to death on the console, so I want to rebreathe a bit of life into these games, and of course, what better way is there to do it than to port it onto VR? Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. I think there's somewhere to hide in here. Yes. Since I got involved in VR just over a year ago, I've just been scrolling through Reddit and different posts to see if most of the games that I enjoy are actually available in VR. Now, some games have VR ports, but we're going to see throughout this series if we can successfully port a PC game onto VR and hopefully make it more enjoyable of an experience than the original. Not priests! No! God's sake, it's always priests. Sorry, Father. So how are we going to measure if this has been a success? Well, there's multiple things to take into account, of course, for VR. Very first thing, immersion. The second thing will be the ease of setup. So we're going to go through the initial steps and see, well, was it relatively painless, or was it a long workaround just to end up getting very mediocre results? Third thing we're going to look at is ease of play, or ease of setting up the controllers. Whenever I'm in VR, I want to use the included controllers. I don't want to sit at my desk with a VR headset on and play using a mouse and keyboard. But we'll end up seeing just how pleasant of an experience it is, or how much it's a pain in the ass. And one of the last things that we're going to end up looking at are, of course, the graphics. These older titles may not hold up to AAA games of today, but what we're looking at is to see if the graphics are distorted or changed in any way through the VR experience. And this all points back to the very first point, which is the whole point of VR. I have said point way too many times, but fundamentally, the point is immersion. I don't know why I say it that way, it's just my accent. Get to the shower. For the bonus one, because this is horror, well, I suppose we're gonna see which one makes me shit myself more. Many of you may be asking the golden question. how am I doing this? Well, I'm using a program called VorpX in this instance. There are other ways that you may be able to do it using mods from the community, but this one is pretty much straightforward for what it encompasses as a program. Now, you're able to buy it for just under £30. I'll put that in here for what we have on the currency market, and it essentially takes most games that are developed on, well, popular engines and allows you to convert them into VR. Oh, run! Get over that! The joke's on you, I don't have a head. This splits the layers, so you have the background layer that is stretched along your entire point of view and allows you to have a full immersive feel, a bit like a curved screen but attached to your face, and also separates things such as the HUD elements or other graphics that may be on the screen, such as blood or rain, or show damage to your character. The menu controls have a very in-depth amount of detail. Movement is handled using the thumbsticks. Of course, this can be used using the traditional WASD controls that you would use on mouse and keyboard, except replacing the mouse for your headset. With the headset being mapped as the mouse input, it does give you a more intuitive way of looking around and a bit smoother than what you would expect whenever you're using something like a controller. It basically reacts a lot quicker and closer to how a mouse would, but of course you can adjust the sensitivity on this. However, if you do get motion sickness within VR, this may not be for you. The program itself doesn't seem to have any motion sickness controls to reduce the impact of that, but if you have been able to find a way to reduce motion sickness within this program, just leave a comment in the section below and we'll have a look at that and review it on a video later.
Why am I doing this to myself?
So now that we've covered all of that, let's look at the game that we're playing and just see what it's all about.
You're Miles Upshur, an investigative reporter whose ambition is about to earn him an intimate tour of Hell on Earth.
Well, developed by Red Barrel Studios in September of 2013, you play the role of an investigator who's following up on a lead at an asylum where there are reports of death and experiments going on for the inmates. The game is a first-person survival horror where you are armed with nothing but a camera that just also happens to have night vision. There's no weapons in this game, so all you need to do is run or get the hell out of Dodge. Now, having this mechanic of night vision is very good for the horror narrative. It allows you to have that sort of basic instinct of being scared of the dark, having the knowledge that you are locked inside an asylum with the patients that have all escaped within it and none of them are in their cells. All of which have gone mad.
There you go. Within your belly, clean your eyes. Every little crevice until we find that key. I know one of you babies has it. There we go.
And I'm gonna walk this way.
This game will have you running, jumping, skipping and trying to evade every single lunatic that is locked up within this asylum, and of course having you hiding in more lockers than you did from your high school bullies because you were playing the lead part in the pipe band at school. Of course you couldn't do that if you were in Britain. The lockers were generally too small or you wouldn't have them at all. It's a very American thing. So let's look at the setup process. Well, for VorpX, this is pretty seamless. So you just end up opening up the program and you open up the game you want to play. This essentially makes the game into a 3D stereoscopic image. It separates the layers within the engine, and from that it's able to make a 2D game on screen into something that you can actually experience in a VR space.
Oh, Jesus, this shit is nasty. Health and safety issues there.
Getting into playing the game is not that difficult. Now, getting the game to run well and display well within the headset, well, that's a wee bit of a different story.
I might have a chance. Open. Do it. He's not coming after me. He's not coming after me. You're not going to come after me. Positive thinking. What the? I just blacked out the screen by putting my hand forward. Positive thinking. Blackout. Doing some weird magic. Sorry, I'm being weird.
My initial experience with this was that the display just didn't sit right whenever I was trying to look through it. If I turned my head too quickly, I would end up seeing borders coming out of the side of my field of view. Of course, you can end up adjusting this so it covers your full field of view and avoids the lagging at either side of your field of vision so that it covers all of your vision. The one caveat with this, because of the aspect ratio, is that you ended up with sort of film bars at the top and bottom that you would normally sort of get in a cinematic experience, which I didn't necessarily feel ruined the level of immersion, but made me sort of feel like I was, well, in a blockbuster movie.
Where is he?
As for the UI, there were a few little glitches. For example, whenever I was looking at the documents within the game, something that's quite important so you can read through the entire story and immerse yourself further, the documents just opened up as an absolute blurry mess, and I would have needed my glasses to be able to read that. And I don't wear glasses, so that would have been difficult because I don't have any to use. This was easily overcome. VorpX actually gives you a lot of options that allows you to change the different layers and how they display on the screen. Now, one of the things that you will typically see within VorpX is that the user interface or the HUD within the game tends to be always a wee bit skew or slightly out of view. For example, in this, I could never really see the battery, so if it wasn't for the audio cue, I never would have known to change it, and at some points earlier in the game, I didn't because I forgot about what the beeping was.
I've got a feeling that this is gonna really end up being something that I just don't want to deal with. What is that beeping?
And of course, for the playability of the game, you need to have accurate controllers. So how did they work out? Well, I found the button mapping was pretty straightforward. The basic controllers based off the original Oculus handsets. All of the usual buttons that you would use on a keyboard setup were pretty much there, and a handy shift feature allowed you access to other buttons that were required. So the thumbstick control on the left hand basically ended up replacing the WASD movement that you would have within a PC setup. The headset ended up controlling where you were looking, whilst the right thumbstick adjusted where you were looking so you could reset it overall, because the sensitivity of the headset never fully aligned with what was within the game. But of course you get used to this, and the intuitive nature of it just allowed you to reset and then start looking around again whenever it did go out. But of course, adjustment of the sensitivity so it matches as you look around with your own head. Spending a wee bit of time with that will reduce the amount of times that you need to reset this view. Even though all of the buttons are there that you would normally use within a PC setup, some of them weren't in the most intuitive of places. So whenever you use the controllers, be prepared for a wee bit of a learning curve. And for some actions, well...
Left control. Left. Or... Nope. Right, so I'll need to remap that somehow.
For crouching and moving forward, for example, it needed to be remapped.
I need to map 1 to that?
Now, this ended up making it a bit fiddly to play with whenever you were in the game and having to set up, and unfortunately it can only be button mapped by pressing the physical keys on the keyboard.
So ship mapping stick right is going to be W. Hold on, do I need to press this on the keyboard? Yes! There we go. Oh god, there's so many difficult mappings to remember now. That's gonna make it even funnier when I fall on my ass.
Whenever you moved out of the area that you were originally in, well, let's just say the game doesn't really like it. You need to return to where you are.
Oh, it didn't like that. I know what it is.
One of the last artifacts that I ended up noticing was, well, the game lies to you. By that, I mean, well, you don't have a head from the very beginning of the game, so, the shadows are a lie.
What the hell's happening with the back? He's headless.
If you would like me to go in more depth of how the setup is done and also just go over the step-by-step methods, then just let me know in the comments and leave a like. If I end up getting over 50 likes, then I'll probably end up doing a video on the setup for this game. One of the things that we end up needing to look at is the graphics of the game. There were a few things that this inevitably broke within the engine. Of course, there were a few artifacts that I ended up seeing where the shadows every now and again would just go crazy and sort of flicker on and off.
Ooh, that's a weird effect with the lighting. What is causing that? Let's go across here. It's projecting. Oh! Is that cancelling it out? Is that what's up? Interesting.
I don't really know what that was about, but it could be to do with the shaders being used within VorpX that are actually conflicting with the overall game itself, because VorpX is overriding some of the settings within the game. That's how it hacks it. When playing the game in VR, I fortunately did not notice any significant deterioration in the graphics that were coming through. Initially, I ended up thinking that the game was a bit grainy at the very beginning. So I played this on the PC, just on the standard desktop mode, and well, yeah, the grain was still there.
Right, so the effects are being a bit put off by this clarity thing. So let's make it less noise.
Turns out that it wasn't actually a side effect of VorpX being applied to the game, it was actually just the game itself. In lighter areas, it does apply a film grain. Not too sure why we can't turn that off in the general effects settings, but it's a game from nearly 10 years ago, so let's forgive it this time. This was not noticeable in the darker areas whenever you were going around, and half of the game you spend looking through the back of a camcorder in night vision, so let's just say the film grain, in the grand scheme of things, wasn't really something that affected my overall enjoyance of the game itself. It was still really immersive. So how does this measure up between playing it on PC and then playing it on VR?
Ah! No, don't kill me. Don't kill me. Don't.
Could you tell which one I was actually shitting myself more in?
It's like the opposite of Fuyo.
Whenever I was playing this, there were times where I actually felt like there was something in the room, and there's something about that immersion where you don't see anything else. There's no lights that are actually affecting your point of view. There's no other distractions. All that you can end up seeing is what is on the screen.
I keep feeling as if something's hitting the ground behind me.
The sheer fact that I couldn't reach out and grab or touch objects didn't really matter because, well, I was mostly running and the only objects that I needed to touch was to pick up a battery or pick up a document. Not really a lot of things that you need to do. It's not like trying to solve a puzzle in Half-Life Alyx.
Hello, Eugene. We meet again. What? Hey.
So, which did I actually enjoy more? The PC version or the VR modded version of it? Well, I ended up finding that the VR version, although it doesn't really have all of the features of standard VR, was head and shoulders above the immersiveness of the PC version.
It's really weird. I don't find this anywhere near as scary because like having that strapped to your face and not seeing any light whatsoever around me It's so different.
This is not without its cons. In fact, the second time that I ended up going to play Outlast on VR on stream, I had to actually go back to playing the PC version because of some weird thing that caused the controllers just not to connect.
Right, the controls aren't working. Come on, guys. What the fuck?
Now, shy of restarting the PC, which would have interrupted the stream, I just resorted to playing the original version. But of course, mileage may vary.
I think the issue is that there's some form of key combination that I keep on hitting that just destroys it. It just doesn't want to do the thing.
Overall, I ended up finding this a really enjoyable experience, and let's just say that from doing this live on stream, it was quite a nice experience to have something that is pretty much a plug and play with a tiny bit of settings changes to make it work. Now, with different games, the mileage once again may vary, but for this experience, would I recommend Outlast in VR? Hell yeah, I would. So that's all we have time for this week. If you like this video, guys, hit that like button. This would really help me. It helps with the whole YouTube algorithm thing. This is a new channel. This is a new video. I want to try and push this as far as I can. If you dislike it, you can still hit the dislike button, but please let me know in the comments below why you didn't enjoy this video. If you want to support me and you want to see new content that is coming up, hit that subscribe button. And if you want to join me whilst I'm recording this footage that you've ended up seeing around in this video, you can join me on my Twitch channel here, or join me in the Discord where I've got updates of whenever I'm going to go live, new ideas, and also ideas that you can pitch to myself for the next game. What game would you like to see me VR next? I'm going to be looking not only just at VorpX, but also alternative mods within the series, so give me a recommendation of what would be good for VR, and I'll have a wee scour around the internet and see what I can find. Anyway guys, until the next video, I shall see you then.
Okay, you're mad. Yes! Yes! Bossing. Thanks, dude.